Well, the other thing the Prime Minister did yesterday was announce a fee refund for working holiday makers in a hope of attracting more people to Australia to help manage the labour shortage. To talk to us more about this, Melanie Macfarlane is an immigration law expert. Melanie, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
So how does this actually work? I mean, so it costs $600 to get a visa to come out here on a working holiday, does it?
That's right. It's $630. And actually, no, it's $400. That's for a student visa. It's $496 or something for a working holiday visa. And what the plan is, because at the moment there's 23,500 working holiday makers actually with visas outside of Australia. So the plan is to bring them all back, and if they come in within the next 12 weeks, they get a complete refund of that visa fee.
Okay, so there is an incentive there, because I'm thinking to myself, if you're coming out here for a working holiday, you're coming out here as a student, the $600 fee is probably the least of your worries.
You're absolutely right. It is an incentive, and the other incentive, actually, is that for the next, we don't know how long, the normal rule where you can only work for 6 months with one employer is going to be scrapped. So that in itself is a big incentive, because as you say, a working holiday visa maker is coming out to work purely. That's a big one.
I've got to say, I've never understood that requirement that you can only work for a particular employer for a particular amount of time. If you're out here on a working holiday visa, we'll let you work. I don't see a problem in. I've never really understood that. But is it easy to project what sort of impact this is going to have? Because I saw one commentator suggest, 2 years ago we told all these people to go home. Well, with good reason. Things were different 2 years ago than they are today. Given that these visas are existing, do you think this is going to be a good enough incentive to attract people to come back?
Well, it's hard to know, isn't it? I mean, the jobs are certainly there, and that's why, they're there in hospitality and areas and agriculture, which are particular areas that working holiday makers normally work in. So the jobs are there. A lot of working holiday makers come from countries like the UK and what have you. Circumstances are not that nice over there. It's winter and so on. So I think in many respects, yes, it could actually be attractive, because it's not so much the cost. Honestly, that 6 month limit, which has been designed so that jobs are not taken away from Australians, because if someone can only work somewhere for 6 months, then they're going to be there on a temporary basis, and they're not going to go into jobs perhaps that would be filled by Australians, maybe in offices and so on. So actually, yes, it could well be. I think the big thing is if new working holiday visa makers want to come in and apply for visas, there have to be the resources in place to be able to get their visas granted.
Yeah. That's right. And so how does that usually work? Does that usually happen in the various consulates overseas, or are they all processed here on shore?
They're usually processed here on shore, but what we've seen during the pandemic is that visas have been, different types of visas, including partner visas, for example, have been kind of farmed out to a lot of the different embassies overseas.
Yep.
So I would imagine that would happen, because the big issue is that at the moment we need a lot of skilled workers to come into Australia who are not working holiday visas but are coming in on the normal sponsored visas, for example, by Australian businesses. And it's really important that those visas get granted as well. So there's a question of priorities here too.
What are some of the other impediments to people coming over here on working visas? Because we know that the opposition has announced a policy where they want to get more Australians into work, and we all would love that if it could happen, but culturally and structurally it's never been the case. So it can't be an either or situation. What more do we need to do to attract more skilled workers?
Well, I mean, for working holiday visa makers, obviously they'll need to be vaccinated and what have you, so if they haven't yet, they're going to have to do that quite quickly. And then for skilled workers, we also need the different states to be opening up their state sponsorship programs to bring in overseas skilled workers. Because to date, I believe it's only South Australia and New South Wales, sorry, not even New South Wales, but the Northern Territory, who have done that. That's a program that's points tested, where skilled migrants can come in and be nominated by the state to work in those areas in occupations that are in demand there. So that needs to happen as well.
Do you think this whole Novak Djokovic saga is going to have any impact on people wanting to come back here?
Potentially. actually, Australia is not looking great worldwide. And I mean, throughout the pandemic, there's been an increasing focus on Australia being this lockdown nation. I mean, you've got Melbourne, reputed to be the most locked down city in the world, for example, which is where Djokovic was supposed to be playing.
Yep.
And so, yeah, Australia doesn't have a great reputation in that regard. It is a bit of a joke. Nonetheless, it's a fabulous destination. There are jobs here. There are many countries that are in chaos around the world, and it's summer here right now. So, there's a lot of good things about Australia right now for people from overseas.
You wouldn't know that it was summer here in Canberra, but Melanie, I appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks very much, Stephen.
Good on you. Melanie Macfarlane, she's an immigration law expert. What are your thoughts on that? 6255 1206, or get us via text on 0488 266 266, or get us via the website. It's 7:15.